The muffled voices came from behind the ornate wooden door, but Zara could hear every cruel word. Her cheeks grew hot with tears as she realized the man she was about to marry was telling his best man that he wished she were less dark and more like someone who looked right in a wedding dress. He laughed with his friend about how he would endure her family's presence for just a few hours before they left for their own side of town. Even worse, he said it was all part of his plan to look good in front of his boss, who was known for donating large sums to causes that helped different communities. He mocked the way her father spoke, said her mother's traditional headscarf made him feel out of place, and claimed he was doing her a favor by marrying her. The friend cackled, and the groom joined in. Zara pressed a trembling hand against her mouth, struggling not to cry out. Her veil brushed the door as she leaned closer, desperate to understand how the man who once said he loved her could speak these hateful words. "It's just a small sacrifice," the groom said with a casual shrug. "Once we're hitched, I can keep her in line. Everyone will see me as open-minded for marrying someone from a different background, especially my boss. I get a promotion, and she gets what she's always wanted, a decent husband." His friend snickered. "Better you than me, man. I can't stand them. I wouldn't trust one of them alone with my kids." "Are you sure you're ready for this? It might be tough once she moves in," the friend continued. The groom sighed, almost bored. "I'll figure it out. I'll buy her family off if I need to. They can barely make ends meet. I'll put them on a tight budget so they can't embarrass me. But hey, we all have to make compromises. Mine is just bigger, marrying someone different. But it's worth it to impress my boss." Zara closed her eyes and forced herself to keep listening. She wanted to burst into the room, but couldn't bring her feet to move. She felt frozen, pinned in place by betrayal. The conversation continued, each word stabbing her heart with a sharper blade. The men joked about how gullible she must be, how she actually believed in love, how she thought he saw her and her family as equals. They claimed she was naive and that it worked perfectly in his favor. Zara felt the walls of her world collapse. In that quiet, empty hallway, outside guests were waiting for her. They believed this was going to be a joyous day. Her parents, relatives, and friends had traveled far to celebrate. She had been so full of hope. Now everything was turned upside down by this ugly truth. The man she trusted was a liar and a racist, and he had planned this all along. Her breath came in short gasps. She knew she had to get away before someone saw her. She looked down at the simple white satin of her wedding gown. It suddenly felt like a costume. She felt sick at the thought of wearing it for a man who saw her as nothing more than a pawn. Feeling tears stream down her face, she turned and slipped down the hallway, her footsteps soft but frantic. The words she had overheard repeated in her mind, echoing so loudly she thought she would lose herself. She pulled off her veil, let it fall to the floor, and kept walking. Her heart pounded as if ready to burst. Everything inside her wanted to scream, wanted to confront him right there, but she knew she had to be calm. She needed to leave, to gather herself, and to figure out what she would do next. Zara had believed in love since she was a little girl. Growing up, she often watched romantic movies with her mother. She would see the hero sweep the heroine off her feet and promise to stay by her side forever. She loved those stories, but she was also aware of the world around her. She had faced racism in school, endured name-calling, and experienced cold stares from people who thought she did not belong. Through it all, her mother told her that one day she would meet someone who would see her worth, who would cherish her for who she was. Zara clung to that hope, and then she met Stephen. The man everyone said was such a catch. They met by chance at a friend's birthday party 2 years earlier. At first, she was not sure if his polite smiles and kind words were just courtesy or genuine interest, but he was charming and seemed to say all the right things. He listened to her stories about her family, asked questions about her culture, and even tried some of her mother's home-cooked meals. Zara's family welcomed him with cautious optimism. Her father stayed quiet in many of their first interactions, but her mother spoke with warm curiosity. Though there was always a hint of worry in the air, the family hoped this time might be different, that this man might truly embrace them. The next 2 years passed in a blur of laughter and shared moments. Stephen proposed in a small restaurant in front of a few close friends. He held out a simple ring and said, "I want us to build a life together. I love you, Zara." She believed him because he looked sincere. She said yes, tears of joy shining in her eyes. When they kissed, the entire restaurant cheered. Though there were small red flags, strange comments he made about her father's old shoes, the way he grumbled when her mother spoke in her native language, Zara convinced herself it was normal. She thought all relationships had issues to work through. Whenever something bothered her, Stephen would assure her that he loved her no matter what. She wanted to believe him. She wanted it so badly that she overlooked what her heart told her. Her heart whispered that he never truly listened, never truly empathized. She told herself she was being paranoid. When the wedding preparations began, Zara was too busy to reflect on these doubts. She had dress fittings, venue visits, and menu tastings, all with Stephen's help. He insisted on booking the most expensive hall in town. He wanted an elegant reception. Zara was touched, thinking he wanted her to feel like a princess on their special day. She did not see the hidden motive that this show of extravagance might impress his boss. He had never told her that his boss had strong connections in the community, especially with charities and outreach programs that helped families like Zara's. He had never mentioned that he hoped to gain favor through his interracial marriage. She had no idea that their wedding was to him an opportunity. But as the big day drew closer, small tensions grew. Stephen's mother, Diane, sometimes refused to greet Zara's parents. She would stay on her side of the room, arms folded, wearing a tight-lipped smile. Stephen told Zara to ignore his mother's behavior, claiming she was nervous and just needed time to warm up. But it bothered Zara. She tried to talk to him about how important it was for both families to come together. Stephen only shrugged. "It's just one day," he said. "They'll get over it." Then there was the time when Zara's aunt, who spoke limited English, came to see the wedding decorations in the church. Stephen caught Zara's aunt in the hallway, tried to explain a decoration detail, and grew visibly frustrated when she did not understand him. Later, he snapped at Zara, "Can't your family at least learn enough English to follow directions? They're making everything harder." Zara stared at him in shock and sadness. She told him not to speak about her family that way, and he apologized, but it felt forced. It was the first time she truly sensed the darkness inside him. But she wanted to see the best in him. Love can make you blind sometimes. The night before the wedding, Zara had trouble sleeping. She felt a knot in her stomach. She tried telling herself it was just nerves. She prayed and reminded herself of all the good moments they had shared. But in the morning, as she got dressed in her bridal suite, the feeling returned stronger than before. She tried to brush it aside, focusing on adjusting her veil and smoothing out her dress. The bridesmaids fussed over her, praising her beauty. Her mother kissed her on the forehead, telling her how proud she was. Zara swallowed her doubts and told herself, "This is going to be okay. Stephen loves me. He chose me." Yet everything changed in that hallway behind that door. She found out the truth in the worst possible way. All at once, the illusion she had held dear shattered. She learned he did not see her as equal, did not value her culture or her family. And worst of all, he was planning to use their marriage as a way to rise at his job. He wanted to appear progressive, but in secret, he despised her background. The sting of his words echoed in her mind as she fled. Zara rushed out the back door of the church, tears streaking her cheeks. She could not face the crowd of guests that had gathered out front. She could not let them see her like this. Her wedding planner, a kind woman named Lucy, spotted her hurrying out and called after her, "Zara, you're supposed to wait for your entrance photos." But Zara did not respond. She vanished into the parking lot and headed toward the edge of the grounds where tall trees cast cool shadows across the grass. She felt dizzy, as if the ground beneath her feet were unsteady. Every step was a struggle. She heard her heartbeat pounding in her ears. In the distance, she saw a side gate. She stumbled toward it, pushing it open with trembling hands. She stepped out onto the sidewalk that ran behind the church property. A few startled onlookers stared at her. After all, a bride in full wedding attire with tears streaming down her face was not something they saw every day. Zara had no idea where to go. She just knew she had to put distance between herself and that building filled with lies. She took out her phone from the small pocket sewn into her wedding dress. Her mother had insisted on adding a secret pocket for tissues or a phone, saying it was just practical. Now Zara silently thanked her mother for that idea. She called her closest cousin, Amara, who was waiting inside the church among the guests. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. Amara, Zara said, I need you to meet me in the back parking lot near the tall oak trees. Please, and come alone. Her cousin's voice was edged with alarm. Zara, what's going on? Everyone's wondering where you are. The ceremony is supposed to start soon. Please, Zara, she said, her voice cracking. Just come. I'll explain then. She ended the call. A few minutes later, Amara arrived, panting, her heels clicking on the pavement. She found Zara hiding near a hedge, tears still streaming down her face. When Zara told her what she had heard, Amara's eyes widened in horror. How could he say that? She whispered, her voice shaking with anger. After everything you've shared with him. Zara sobbed. He doesn't love me. He never did. It was all a stunt for his career, and he hates my family. Amara, he hates who we are. What do I do? Amara held her cousin tight, feeling Zara tremble in her arms. We can leave right now, she said. You don't have to go through with any of this. We can make up some excuse, or even just let them figure it out. You don't owe him anything. Zara shook her head. Everyone is here, my parents, my grandparents. They came such a long way. How can I just walk away without explaining? But if you go inside now, I don't trust myself not to scream at him in front of everyone, Zara continued. Amara looked at her with fierce loyalty. You have every right to confront him. He deserves it. But do you really want to do that here today with all these people watching? Zara wiped her eyes, thinking hard. It can't happen like this. I need to collect myself. He wants to humiliate me for his gain, but I won't let him. He's used me for months. I can't just run off and hide. That's what he would expect me to do, the docile bride who doesn't cause trouble. Amara stroked Zara's hand. What are you going to do? Zara felt a new wave of resolve course through her. Rage mixed with heartbreak and a sense of justice flared inside her. I'm going to leave for now. Let them panic. Let him wonder if I overheard him. Then, when the time is right, I'll come back. And I won't come back alone. He wants to see me broken. Let's see how he handles it when I stand up for myself. Her eyes glinted with determination. She wanted to gather proof, gather her thoughts, and return at the exact moment that would expose him. She would not be a victim of his cruelty. Zara and Amara hurried away from the church grounds. They walked down a few blocks until they found a small family-run cafe. The place was nearly empty on a Saturday afternoon. Most people were busy with weekend errands or events. Zara knew it might be risky going and wearing a wedding dress, but she needed a place to sit, to think, and to hide. They slipped inside and found a corner table. The owner, an older woman who spoke with a gentle accent, approached. She seemed concerned at the sight of a tearful bride. My dear, is everything okay? Do you need help? She asked softly. Zara tried to smile, grateful for the woman's kindness. I just need somewhere to rest for a moment, she said, her voice husky with emotion. May I please have a glass of water? The woman nodded and left quickly. Zara sat, her dress bunching around her, her head in her hands. Amara squeezed her shoulder. Take your time, she said. We'll figure it out. The woman soon returned with water and a cup of tea on a small tray. No charge, she said, concern evident in her eyes. I hope you find peace. I don't know what's happened, but I can see the pain in your eyes. She gave a kind nod and left them alone. Zara took a sip of water. Her mind whirled with possibilities. Should she call her parents first? Should she expose Stephen right now? Her body still shook with the memory of the words he had spoken behind that door. She handed her phone to Amara, who texted Zara's parents, telling them that Zara needed a moment to calm her nerves before the ceremony. She was not feeling well, and they should remain patient. Her parents, worried, texted back that they would wait and not pressure her. Zara closed her eyes, thankful for the unconditional love of her family. They sat in the cafe for nearly an hour, huddled close, whispering. Zara's shock was slowly giving way to a fiery determination. She knew exactly what she wanted to do. Return to the wedding, show up when Stephen least expected it, and expose him in front of everyone. But she needed to be calm and organized. She also wanted to make sure her parents and family were not thrown into chaos because of her choice. They deserved to know the truth, but she hoped to shield them from the worst of the fallout. Amara listened closely. "We can't let him get away with this," she said. "We can't let him continue pretending. Not when his cruelty is so clear." "But how?" Zara asked, her brow furrowed in thought. "I have no recordings, no proof. It's just my word against this." Amara smiled a little, tapping her phone. "Most of us have phone apps that record audio, right? I could try to get him to admit what he said or trick him into repeating it." Zara paused, remembering the words she had overheard. Her blood still boiled at the memory. "We need him to reveal how he really feels," she said. "He might get careless if we push the right buttons. Then we can show everyone who he is." They laid out a plan. Zara would stay hidden for a while, letting worry spread through the wedding guests. Meanwhile, Amara would return to the venue and pretend to sympathize with Stephen, telling him that Zara had run away because she got cold feet or was upset about something else. Perhaps Amara would get him alone, get him to talk about how he really felt. She would use her phone to record their conversation. If they succeeded, they would have the evidence they needed to confront him publicly. Zara shuddered. "Hearing it once was bad enough," she whispered. "But I need everyone else to hear it too. They need to see why I'm leaving him." Amara nodded, her eyes gentle. "I'll do it, Zara. You can trust me." With a final hug, Amara left the cafe to head back to the church. Zara watched her go, feeling a mix of fear and hope. If Amara could do this, Zara would return with the strength to stand up for herself and for her family. Zara stayed in the cafe, nursing her tea as the minutes ticked by. She noticed a few glances from other customers who saw a bride sitting alone. Tears dried on her cheeks, but nobody bothered her. The owner occasionally walked by and gave her a kind smile. Zara found a napkin and tried to dab away some of the mascara streaks under her eyes. Her phone buzzed, and she picked it up quickly. It was a text from her mother. "We are worried. The ceremony is delayed. Stephen says you are unwell. Where are you?" Zara's heart twisted. She knew she should talk to her parents directly, but she wanted to stick to the plan. She typed a quick response. "I'm safe, Mom. Don't worry. I just need some air." She did not say more. She put her phone face down on the table and tried to steady her breath. She reminded herself why she was doing this. She thought of the hateful words, the smug tone in Stephen's voice, the laughter he shared with his friend. She imagined her family's faces if they ever knew the truth, if they heard him belittle them. Her father, a proud man who had sacrificed so much to give Zara a better life, did not deserve that humiliation. Her mother, who had welcomed Stephen into their home with open arms, did not deserve such disrespect. That steeled Zara's resolve. She was not going to let him fool them any longer. At the church, chaos had erupted. The ceremony was supposed to start an hour ago, but the bride was missing and many guests grew restless. Some wondered if they should head to the reception area. Stephen paced back and forth, forcing a concerned expression, though inside he was seething. He suspected something was wrong. Perhaps Zara had heard or seen something. He tried calling her phone, but she did not answer. Amara approached him with a look of worry plastered on her face. "Stephen," she said, her tone shaking a bit. "I'm so sorry to bother you, but do you know where Zara is? I can't find her anywhere." Stephen threw up his hands, frustration evident. "How would I know?" he asked. "She just disappeared." "Did she say anything to you?" Amara hesitated, then lied. "She mentioned something about being worried that she's not the right kind of bride for you. She said she's nervous your mother doesn't like her family." Stephen's eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Amara shrugged. "She thinks she's bringing shame to your family. She talked about your mother's cold stares and those comments your friends made. She said she's scared she'll never fit in." Stephen's face changed from annoyance to a cunning smirk. "Well," he sighed, "I guess it's normal for her to be insecure. She should have known from the start that this was going to be tough on my family, but I didn't think she'd run off like that. It's pretty dramatic." Amara bit her lip, stepping closer. She lowered her voice. "Stephen, can I be honest with you? I'm just her cousin, so I don't know everything, but she's always been sensitive about race. She's faced a lot of ugly words in her life. I wonder if she overheard something that made her feel singled out." Did you or your friend say anything that might have pushed her over the edge? Stephen stared at her. He knew better than to confess, but part of him believed there was no way Zara would bring this out in public. He had counted on her meekness, on her desire to keep the peace. I don't think so, he lied. We might have joked around a bit, but she knows I love her. Amara nodded, pretending to accept his words. Her phone, hidden in her purse, was recording everything. Sometimes jokes can hurt if they have a hint of truth, she said carefully. Did you ever say something about her family not being good enough for yours, or that you're only doing this wedding for some reason other than love? Stephen tensed. Why would you suggest that? He asked sharply. I'm marrying her because I love her. That's the only reason. Amara smiled apologetically. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. It's just that she ran away, so I'm trying to figure out if something you said triggered it. He looked away, clearly annoyed. He was not about to spill his secrets to Zara's cousin. She'll come back, he finally said in a low voice. She always does what's best for everyone else. She wouldn't dare embarrass her family by leaving. At that moment, Amara sensed the ugly truth behind his arrogance. She felt her stomach twist in disgust. She pretended to give him a sympathetic look. I'm sure you're right, she said quietly. I'll see if I can find her. Maybe she just needed some air. She walked away, not pressing further. She knew if she pushed too hard, he would suspect something. The few words he had said, laced with superiority and dismissiveness, were enough to show his true colors. She was not sure it would be enough to shock everyone, but it was a start. She slipped into a side room, turned off the recording, and listened back. She heard Stephen's harsh tone, how he labeled Zara as dramatic, how he suggested she was bound by duty to her family's honor. It was enough to show that he saw her in a belittling light, but it was not the full confession they wanted. Amara sent a quick text to Zara. He hasn't confessed much yet, but I have some of his nasty tone on tape. I can keep trying if you want, or we can think of another plan. Zara's reply came soon after. Thank you. Let me think. I might have another idea. Wait a little longer. I'll let you know when I'm coming back. In the cafe, Zara paced by the window, her heels clicking against the tiled floor. She thought about the look in Stephen's eyes when she first met him. She wondered if she had always been a target for him, or if he once cared and then changed. She would never truly know. The only thing she knew now was that he was not the man she thought he was. She typed a text to her mother, letting her know she was safe. Her mother insisted on coming to her side. Zara hesitated, but realized she needed the support. She gave her mother the address of the cafe and told her to come quietly, without alerting everyone else. 20 minutes later, Zara's mother arrived, worry etched across her face. She wore a simple navy blue dress and a soft pink headscarf that framed her kind features. She looked at her daughter in the wedding dress and burst into tears. Zara embraced her, drawing strength from that hug. Zara, what happened? Her mother asked, voice trembling. Why is the ceremony on hold? Everyone's whispering. Some people are leaving. Zara explained haltingly that she had overheard Stephen saying vile things about her and her family. She did not repeat every word. Some were too painful. But she shared enough for her mother to understand the betrayal. Tears slid down her mother's cheeks. How could he pretend for so long? Her mother whispered. We welcomed him. We trusted him. Zara sniffed, wiping her own tears. I'm sorry I didn't see the signs, Mom. I was so caught up in the idea of love. Her mother patted her hand softly. You have nothing to be sorry for. He is the one who has deceived us. She took a deep breath. What do you plan to do now, child? Do you still want to marry him? Zara's answer was immediate. I can't marry a man who sees me and my family as inferior. He doesn't love me. He doesn't respect me. It was all fake. Her mother nodded. Then you must do what is best for you. If you want to call off the wedding, we support you. Zara felt a fresh wave of tears. She was so relieved to have her mother's blessing. I won't let him get away with this, Zara said, her jaw set with resolve. He thinks he can hide his racism and use me for his gains. I want to expose him for who he is. Her mother looked concerned. Zara, you must be careful. Men like him. If he's not afraid to say such words, he might not react well if you humiliate him in front of everyone. I know, Zara said quietly, but I have to do this. I'll let him think I've run away for good. Then I'll walk back in there and show him I'm not weak. I will not be quiet. I don't care if it causes a scene." Her mother sighed. "Then do what you must, but do it with dignity." Zara squeezed her mother's hand. "I promise." As afternoon turned to evening, the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the church lawn. Some guests had left, but many lingered, hoping for an explanation. Stephen's parents hid their annoyance behind forced smiles, but they were whispering angrily among themselves. Stephen grew more and more agitated. He stepped outside the church, scanned the parking lot, and paced near the entrance. He tried calling Zara's phone again, but there was no answer. Inside, Amara quietly approached the guest she trusted. She explained that Zara had discovered something horrible about Stephen, though she did not provide details. She asked them to stay, saying that Zara needed people who cared about her. Some of Zara's close friends agreed, suspecting that something terrible had happened. They were worried, but trusted Zara's judgment. Zara used this time to call her father, who was still inside the church, seated in a pew, waiting patiently. When she heard his voice, she almost broke down again. Her father had always been the quiet strength in her life. She explained in a choked whisper that she had overheard Stephen's hateful words. Her father said nothing for a long moment, then spoke gently. "You do not have to marry a man who disrespects our family," he said. "I will support whatever choice you make. If you wish me to stay with you as you confront him, I will do so. If you want me to remain quiet in the background, I will do that too. But know this, I love you, Zara, and I will not allow this man to harm you." Zara's throat tightened. "Thank you, Dad. It means everything to me. Please remain where you are, and I will let you know when we are about to come in. I want you by my side, but I also need to handle this myself." Her father understood and agreed. Zara ended the call, feeling braver. Finally, as the evening light began to fade, Zara decided it was time. She stood in front of the cafe's small bathroom mirror, splashed water on her face, and fixed her makeup the best she could. Her mother helped smooth out her wedding dress and reposition the veil. Zara looked at her reflection. The dress was a symbol of purity and hope, but now it reminded her of betrayal. Still, she would wear it for one purpose: to show Stephen and everyone else that she would not be his victim. She and her mother left the cafe and took a ride back to the church. Zara felt her heart pounding as they approached. She could see from the windows that many guests were still inside, scattered in small clusters of conversation. Some were gazing at their phones, looking bored or anxious. Stephen stood at the front, speaking to the officiant with a strained expression. Word of Zara's arrival spread quickly. People turned to look, some gasped or whispered. Stephen spun around, relief and anger flashing in his eyes. He rushed toward her. "Zara," he exclaimed, forcing a tight smile. "Where have you been? You had everyone worried. Are you okay?" Zara did not smile. She felt a cold calm fill her. "We need to talk," she said. "Right now, in front of everyone." Her voice was steady and strong. Stephen hesitated, eyes darting around. "Maybe we should speak in private first," he tried to say. "We can go to the back room." "No," Zara said firmly. "We will speak here." The officiant, a gentleman named Reverend Carter, cleared his throat. "Zara, we can give you and Stephen some privacy, perhaps." Zara lifted her hand to stop him. "Please, Reverend, I appreciate your concern, but I want the guests to hear what I have to say. It involves them too, because they came here for a wedding that will not happen." A ripple of shocked whispers spread through the small crowd. Stephen's mother, Diane, frowned. "What do you mean it won't happen?" she asked sharply. Zara took a deep breath. She looked at her father, who stood in the second row, his eyes fixed on her with quiet support. She glanced at Amara, who gave a small nod from near the aisle. She felt her mother's steady hand on her shoulder. Summoning all her courage, Zara began. "I overheard you, Stephen," Zara said, turning to face him. Her voice trembled with hurt and anger, but she did not let it break. "I heard every vile word you said to your best man. You said you were marrying me only to impress your boss. You said my family and I are not good enough for you. You even mocked my father and called my mother's headscarf embarrassing. You told your friend you only had to endure my family for a little while, because once we were married, you buy us off or keep us in line. You use me for your own ambition. Stephen's eyes widened in panic. He glanced around, noticing how the guests were staring at him, expressions ranging from confusion to horror. "Zara, that's not true," he stammered, his face pale. "You must have misunderstood. I would never say such a thing." Zara pulled out her phone and looked at Amara. Amara stepped forward, holding up her phone with the recording. "Then explain this," Amara said loudly. She pressed play. Stephen's voice filled the room, clipped and annoyed, calling Zara dramatic, insisting she always did what's best for everyone, implying she would not dare embarrass herself or her family by backing out. The recording was not overly long, but it was enough. The hateful tone in Stephen's voice was clear. The callous dismissal of Zara's feelings was obvious. Guests looked at Stephen with shock. Some turned their heads away, disgusted by what they heard. Stephen's father's face turned red, while his mother's expression became a mask of shame and anger. Reverend Carter shook his head, and a hush fell over the church. When the recording ended, Zara stared at Stephen. "There's more I heard that was not recorded," she said softly. "About how you hate my background, how you think my family and I are beneath you, how you never wanted this marriage for love. You only wanted it so you could impress your boss and get ahead at work." Stephen found his voice. "Zara, you don't understand," he said, desperate. "I was just venting. I said some stupid things. My mother and father put pressure on me. They never approved of you." Zara let out a shaky breath. "So you blame your parents for your words. You chose to say those hateful things, and I can't marry someone who looks down on me or my culture." She paused, staring into his eyes. "You lied to me, betrayed me, and insulted everything I hold dear. This wedding is off." People in the pews gasped. Diane made a strangled sound in her throat, possibly from shock or anger that her son was being exposed. Stephen reached for Zara's hand, but she stepped back, refusing to let him touch her. "Wait," he pleaded, losing the facade. "Listen, if you don't go through with this, think about how it will look. Everybody's here. Think about your family's reputation. They'll be humiliated." Zara's voice was cold. "They won't be half as humiliated as you when they learn the truth. My family stands by me. You don't get to manipulate me anymore. You are the one who should be ashamed." Stephen's face hardened and his tone turned mean. "Fine. If you walk away, don't expect me to apologize. You'll never find someone better than me. At least I gave you a chance at a decent life. You want to throw it all away? Go ahead." A wave of outrage swept through the crowd. One of Zara's uncles stood up, glaring at Stephen. Her friends muttered curses under their breath. Even some of Stephen's own friends looked uncomfortable, realizing that he had indeed been exposed as a bigot and a liar. The entire wedding scene was in chaos. Zara squared her shoulders. She felt tears burn at the corners of her eyes, but blinked them back. She refused to let him see her cry again. She walked past him straight to the altar. Behind the altar was a table that held the wedding documents, ready to be signed. She picked them up, looked at them for a moment, and then tore them in half. The ripping sound echoed in the stunned silence. "This is my wedding gift to myself," she said, holding the torn papers for all to see. "Freedom from a man who never loved me, who never respected me. I'd rather have no wedding at all than spend my life with a racist who sees me as a tool for his own advantage." She dropped the pieces of paper onto the floor. Some fluttered gently, landing at her feet. She turned to face Stephen one last time. "I hope you learned something from this," she said quietly. "Hatred will only poison you, but I won't stand here and be your victim." Turning away from him, she walked down the aisle. Her father stood, offering his arm. She took it with gratitude, feeling her mother's hand slip into hers on the other side. Her closest friends and family followed, giving her strength. Many guests began to walk out as well, appalled by Stephen's behavior. A few who stayed behind glared at him, shaking their heads in disappointment. This was Zara's moment of revenge, not a violent act, but a firm stand. She had exposed Stephen before everyone he wanted to impress. She had torn up the wedding contract in front of them. She had refused to be silenced or shamed. Now all that was left was for Stephen to face the consequences of his own words. Outside the church, dusk had settled. The warm glow of streetlights reflected off Zara's tear-streaked cheeks. Despite her sadness, she felt an odd sense of relief. Her friends and cousins gathered around her, hugging her and telling her how proud they were of her courage. Some of them wept for her pain, while others raged at Stephen's cruelty. Zara looked at her mother and father, who stood together, their arms around her. She felt their love wrap around her like a shield. She knew the days ahead would be difficult. There would be questions, rumors, and perhaps attempts by Stephen to salvage his reputation. But none of that mattered to her now. She was free from a loveless marriage and a bigoted partner. She had reclaimed her dignity. One by one, the cars of guests left the church parking lot. Some family members offered to host a small gathering at a relative's home, a place where they could sit with Zara and make sure she was okay. She agreed. She did not want to be alone that night. She wanted to be surrounded by people who cared, who saw her worth, who knew the value of a loving heart. As she walked to her parents' car, she felt a hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Lucy, the wedding planner, her eyes full of sympathy. "Zara, I'm so sorry things turn out this way," Lucy said, her voice heavy with regret. "But I respect how you handled it. It was brave." Zara gave a small, grateful nod. "Thank you, Lucy. It wasn't supposed to be this way, but I had to stand up for myself." Lucy handed her a small bouquet of white lilies. "I think you deserve these," she said softly. "They were meant for the altar, but it seems right that you should have them." Zara accepted the flowers, pressing them to her chest. "Thank you," she whispered. The night air felt cool against Zara's face as she climbed into her parents' car. She stared out the window at the church doors, still open, revealing glimpses of a shattered ceremony inside. She thought of Stephen, left behind with his lies exposed. She thought of all the ways her future had changed in just a single day. And though her heart ached, she also felt a sense of hope. Sometimes breaking away from something fake clears the path for something true. They drove away. Her mother and father sat silently, but comforting. Zara knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges. She would have to deal with the emotional fallout, explain to relatives and friends who were not there what really happened. But she would do so with her head held high. She had shown that she would not tolerate hate, even from someone who claimed to love her. When they arrived at her cousin's house, she was greeted by a small crowd of relatives and close friends. They wrapped her in blankets, gave her tea, and let her cry in safety. Some told her stories to make her laugh, reminding her she was still capable of joy. Others simply sat beside her, offering quiet support. It was a strange sort of after-party, one filled not with wedding toasts, but with heartfelt sympathy and resolve to protect her. Late into the night, as people began to drift away and find places to sleep, Zara stepped outside to the small back porch. She looked at the moon glowing in the sky and felt a tear slip down her cheek. She let the tear fall. She felt pain, but also relief. She thought about how the next morning she would wake up no longer engaged, no longer weighed down by the pretense that she was loved by someone who valued her. She would wake up with her pride intact, with her self-respect unbroken. She heard the door open behind her. Turning, she saw her father. He walked over and stood beside her. They did not speak for a while, just looked at the stars. Finally, he said softly, "You did the right thing." Zara bowed her head. "It hurts," she admitted, "but I know it was right. I just feel foolish for loving him." Her father placed a hand on her shoulder. "Love is not foolish. Trusting someone is not foolish. He is the one who is foolish for throwing away a good woman's heart." Zara closed her eyes, tears slipping onto her lashes. "Thank you, Dad," she whispered. Her father nodded. They stayed together under the night sky for a while longer. The quiet of the neighborhood wrapped around them. And as Zara breathed in the cool air, she vowed she would heal. She would move on and would not let Stephen's hateful words define her. She had faced him and taken her revenge by revealing who he truly was. In time, she would find her own peace and perhaps one day, true love as well. Weeks passed. News of a disastrous wedding spread through their social circles. Some sympathized with Zara and supported her courage. Others gossiped and expressed shock or confusion. Stephen tried to salvage his image, claiming it was a misunderstanding, but the damage was done. His racist comments were on record for all to hear. Eventually, word reached his boss, the one who prided himself on supporting diverse communities. He was appalled by Stephen's behavior. The promotion Stephen had hoped for slipped through his fingers. He found himself isolated in the workplace, avoided by colleagues who did not want to be associated with him. Zara, meanwhile, kept her distance. She refused to talk to Stephen. The only time she acknowledged him was through her lawyer, who made sure no legal claims could be filed against her for the canceled wedding expenses. She focused on healing and spending time with her loving family and friends. In small steps, she reclaimed her life. She kept her job, returned to her hobbies, and surrounded herself with people who genuinely cared for her. There were nights when she cried, remembering how close she had come to marrying someone who despised her heritage. But each morning, she woke with new strength. She reminded herself that she had faced racism head-on and had not bent to it. She learned to trust her instincts more and to value herself enough to walk away from a toxic situation. One morning, she woke early and stepped outside to watch the sunrise. The sky was streaked with pink and orange. She breathed in the fresh air, feeling the chill on her skin, and smiled. Today was a new day. She was free. She was strong. And she was loved by the people who mattered. As the sun peaked over the horizon, Zara knew she had won. Her revenge was not only in exposing Stephen, but in living her life without shame or regret. In time, she would build a future filled with real love and mutual respect. She would share her story with others who needed to hear it. And she would never be silent in the face of hatred again.